the Shadow of Revan expansion, there is now a new discipline system. The discipline system essentially is a very oversimplified version of the talent tree. And so right now I'm running the lightning discipline, which there's 3 different disciplines within every single class within Star Wars: Old Republic, with mine being that I'm a Sith Inquisitor, or rather Sith Sorcerer. I have Corruption, Lightning, and Madness. And so with Lightning, I basically have a lot of lightning abilities. I'm very much a mage within Star Wars: The Old Republic, and with my utilities, I'm going to call this the Sith Sorcerer Lightning Barrage build. And the reason why I'm going to call it the Barrage build is because there's so many procs that you get with this build, and you're so very much a force to be reckoned with. This is like the glass cannon build, and you could use it in PvP. You could also use it in PvE. It's more focused towards PvE, and you guys are going to see why. There's a couple things that you can change within this build in order for you to make it a more PvP oriented build, but it will work with PvP. It's just more PvE focused. So we have Chain Shock, which increases damage dealt by shock by 5%, which is an instant cast. You want all your instant casts to be as powerful as possible. That way you can kill on the move. In addition, Shock gains 50% chance to produce a second shock that deals 50% less damage. So you have a chance to have 2 instant cast shocks, one of which does 50% less damage, but it still is instant cast damage. That is very good. Then you also have a Sith Defiance trait, which is a passive, which damage reduction by 3%, so that way you're more tanky. Then you also have Tempest Mastery. Tempest Mastery increases damage dealt by Force Storm by 25%. I use this because for AoE fights, you want to have extra AoE damage, and that's what Tempest Mastery does. It allows you to have extra damage with your AoEs, as well as your increased procs, which will give you even more increased AoE damage, which we'll get into in a second. We also have Force Speed, grants Immersion, removing all movement and pairing effects and granting immunity to them for the duration. So what that does is basically, if you're rooted, it allows you to break the roots and essentially get away. It's good for PvP. It's also good for PvE in certain cases, because there is movement and pairing effects within PvP as well as within PvE. So there's also Lightning Barrier, increases the amount absorbed by your static barrier by 10%. Really good to have in PvP and in PvE. That way you could take more damage. There's also a couple other different things in here. I mean, honestly, you could do Overload, binds its targets in electricity, immobilizing them for 5 seconds. That would be good for PvP because you can root them with your AoE Overload ability. But honestly, I don't really recommend using that in PvP. It's really not needed whatsoever. Then there's also a couple different other things. You can do Cloud Mine, grants Suppression, which increases damage reduction by 25%. Makes you a little bit more tankier, but once again, we're going for Glass Cannon with this build. And so we also have Force Haste. If you want to have the most damage, you got to have Force Haste. Because Force Haste, what it does, it reduces the cooldown of your Force Speed by 5 seconds, and Force Slow by 3 seconds, and Force Barrier by 30 seconds. So your Force Barrier is always going to be off cooldown. And then on top of that, your Force Speed is going to be reduced by 5 seconds, which allows you to get more procs. Because if you activate Force Speed, you get procs for your Lightning Bolts, I believe it's called. Yeah, Lightning Bolts. And you also have a chance with your Lightning Bolt procs to get a Chain Lightning proc. So it allows you to have constant instant cast, so you can always be casting while on the move. And then we also have Force Mobility, Thundering Blast innovates, and Force Leech may be activated while moving. This allows you to basically use one of your most powerful abilities, Thundering Blast, on the move. And keep in mind, Affliction you're also going to want to use in your rotation. That way you can get a crit on your Thundering Blast without having any chance of it not critting. So you always want to have Affliction up, and with Chain Lightning it basically refreshes that cooldown. So essentially with the Sith Sorcerer instant cast barrage build that I'm running right now, we have the utility Chain Shock, which once again has an increased damage dealt by shock for 5%. Then also has a chance to produce a second shock that deals 50% less damage. We also have Sith Defiance, damage reduction by 3% to make us a little bit more tankier. Tempest Mastery, increasing the damage of Force Storm by 25%, mainly used for PvE, but could be used for PvP as well. I wouldn't really recommend it though. but it's mainly used for PvE. Then we also have Immersion. Force Speed grants Immersion, removing all movement impairing effects and granting immunity to them for a duration, which is really good for PvP, but also good for PvE in certain situations. Increase the amount damage absorbed by your static barrier by 10%. Lightning barrier, very good to have because it basically makes you a little bit more tankier with your static barrier. Then we also have force haste. Once again, you need to have instant cast. Instant casts are key with this build because not only do you have instant cast, but you also have a shit ton of procs with force haste, which will allow you not only to do a ton of damage on the go, but also in PvP, you can just constantly kite the living hell out of someone. And what I would typically run instead of like force mobility within PvP is I would typically run, where is it at here? Yes, right here. So Conspiring Force would be really good to have in PvP instead of having force mobility, primarily because, yes, you're losing your Thundering Blast on the go, but what you're gaining is a constant 30% slow with Affliction for its duration. So that would be good in PvP, but I'm mainly PvE focused right now, and that's why I have Force Haste and Force Mobility. That way I have more procs because Force Speed activates 2 instant cast Thunder Bolts, Lightning Bolts, and it also, with Lightning Bolt, has a chance to toggle a Chain Lightning proc as well. So I have a lot of instant casts because I have Force Speed, and I have it reduced by 5 seconds. Its cooldown reduced by 5 seconds. Then I also have Force Mobility, like I said, that allows me to do Thundering Blast on the go, which is very important because that's my main ability that does a ton of damage. So if I can do that on the go, that's going to help me out not only in PvE if there's like a lot of AoE damage going on the battlefield, but also in PvP because I can run and cast my most powerful ability. So that is my Sith Sorcerer instant cast barrage build. Very good build. Very high amounts of damage that goes on with it. I just wanted to show you guys that because that's what I am running right now, and that's also what you guys will be seeing me run in all my videos.